Alright, so this is the video that we're making in order to show the fixes that we made to our ER diagram. As you can see, this is the original ER diagram that we had when we presented on Thursday. And then if we go over here, where is it? This is our revised version in total, and this is what we're presenting in our final submission. So if we look at the differences between the two, I just kept them so that it's easier to reference when we look back and forth. But the main issue that we had in our ER diagram in the beginning was the fact that we chose to leave foreign keys in the diagram, which doesn't make sense because we were using Chen's notation. Now, the reason that was an issue was because in Chen's notation, it already shows all the relationship between like different entities and attributes. So when we have those relationships already shown to us and add foreign key attributes to those entities that we have listed already, it's just re-describing the relationships that we already established through the different relationships between the entities. So for example, if we look at the fitness class at the very bottom, let me see if I can point the cursor so that's easier. We have instructor ID. The instructor ID is the foreign key for the fitness class table. But the reason why that's redundant is because if we look here, we have a relationship that's teach that links the one-to-many relationship between the instructor and the fitness class. So when we have that relationship established, we see that the instructor ID is a primary key for instructor. So when we see the relationship already linked here, there's no reason for me to include the instructor ID as a foreign key attribute. That's just redundant information. There's no need to have two attributes of the same thing. Now, if we look up here, it's the same issue. We have the client ID and the client item log. That's redundant information. We don't need the foreign key there because we see the relationship that's linked between the merchandise and the client. The client ID is the primary key in the client table, so there's no need to leave the client ID there. Now, if we go to the register, it's the same thing except we have two primary keys, the class ID and the client ID. So the reason why that's bad, again, is because we see the relationships that's linked between the client and fitness class because of the register entity. The class ID is the primary key for fitness class, and the client ID is the primary key for client. So these two foreign keys are just unnecessary to add in the final ER diagram submission. So we removed that. And then lastly, if we look here, it's the same issue. We have the two foreign keys, in class equipment when we already see that the class ID is linked in the relationship in the fitness class, and then equipment ID is already listed as the primary key for equipment. So when we have the many-to-many relationship established, just having equipment ID and class ID, again, is just redundant information. So if we look at our final version here, there's no longer any foreign keys. So if we look here, there's no client ID, there's no class ID and client ID here, there's no equipment ID and class ID here, and then there's no instructor ID in the fitness class table. So yeah, if we look here, this is the final changes that we made. We removed all the foreign keys, and yeah, that's it.